It is absolutely untrue, as they say consistently and persistently in this discussion, that children are invisible in the Constitution. That is absolutely untrue. Children or child, these words appear 10 times in the Constitution. The word father, for example, doesn't appear at all. The word adult doesn't appear at all. It's a completely dishonest argument to make. As Judge Adrian Hardiman has said, the rights of children are already dealt with in the context of family rights and in personal rights. Children are adequately protected, and more than adequately protected, if state agencies will actually do their duty. Article 42.5 allows for the intervention where there is a parental failure for physical or moral reasons. All of the categories of abuse and neglect which are persistently listed by proponents of this amendment, and the shocking cases they misuse in order to make their arguments, all of those incidents, Roscommon case, Kilkenny, Kelly Fitzgerald, all of these were capable of being dealt with under the present constitutional dispensation. It is completely dishonest to suggest that the Constitution is deficient. As Adrian Hardiman said, the Constitution does not favour parents over children. What it favours is the family over outsiders, but it allows for an intervention by the state to take the place of the parent where there has been a failure for physical or moral reasons. And that has absolute reach within the various categories of abuse, neglect, sexual, physical abuse and neglect that arise time and again in this context.
In our Constitution, as it presently is, children have more rights than anyone else. They, first of all, are protected as persons. They have the same rights as I have, as you have, John. Secondly, they have the rights upheld within the family. Remember, family is family. It's not parents. It's also children. So their rights are protected in the family in the strongest way. They're called antecedent and superior. The third level of rights they have is in terms of the rights that very much need state help. So the right to education and the right to have protection when their parents fail. And this is Article 42. So 3 layers of rights. But what they're asking us in this amendment is to get rid of the second layer of rights, that is the right to be protected by the family, the right to have family protection. And the third layer of rights, and that is the right to oblige the state to help them appropriately when the parents fail. So they're losing the second layer of rights and they're diminishing the third layer of rights, all on the excuse of giving children's rights. And of course, why would they do this? They do it because rights cost money. Rights cost money. Case after case has been fought in the High Court and proved the incredibly strong rights that children have in the Constitution. But they have cost implication, and the state has always fought their responsibility to children. So now they're offering us a formula of words that will reduce their responsibility to children, increase their control of children and of parents who they find annoying because they advocate for their children, and will let them off the hook completely in terms of their own state neglect of children.
And there is no provision in this amendment at all for a parent to confront the state for a failure on the state's part in relation to his or her, the parent's own children. So if the state cannot be held accountable for anything, whether it's under education or whether it's under any other heading, a failure, medical, you name it, the state cannot be held under account for this so-called children's rights referendum. Now, this should alert us to the real agenda here, because if we're really interested in children's rights, that should be the watchword, no matter who is at fault, whether it's the parents, whether it's the state. But the state is excused, absolved from any liability in this referendum. There's a point that needs to be understood here, because I think people actually in the modern context, we talk so much about rights, we always talk about individualized rights. It's very important to actually see the way the family unit functions constitutionally, which doesn't understand its members as individuals. It understands as a kind of an organic unit in which there are various forces to do with love, affection, duty, responsibility, protectiveness, dependency. So the child, your 2-year-old child crawling around the floor, doesn't have the capacity to act as an individual agent exercising rights. And what this will mean is that the state will say, there's your child, we represent her.
That's right. Against you.
Yes, against you. So we are wielding her rights against you. And we say what those rights are. And we say what they mean. And we even predict your capacity or incapacity to
as a parent
to fulfill them in the future. So we have unlimited power to say to you, you're not a good parent. We're going to take your child.
And give your child to someone else.
Yeah, this is the frightening thing. I think really, the great fear I have about this amendment is not to do with our arguments. It's the fact that the public have been dissuaded from looking at the detail by a bland media coverage of the thing, and by a bland and quite disingenuous and dishonest presentation of the facts by the official sources, the Yes campaign, in various guises. My one plea to people, even over and above urging you to vote no, is please read the amendment. Try to focus on the words in it. Look at the Constitution.
And read what is taken out of the Constitution.
Yes. Read Article 41 and 42, and particularly 42.5. These are the two relevant, because 42.5 will actually be taken out. Read that. Consider the word paramount in particular in the new wording. Now this trumps really everything else that's already there, and will really deliver the issues over to so-called experts who spout, well, maybe science in some instances, but more often pseudoscience, more often psychobabble, more often ideology, their own personal subjective views. And they will be facing a judge sitting on his bench who isn't an expert in his own mind on children, and will be guided by this, and also guided by the fact that he has a document, a report, which will substantiate whatever decision he rubber stamps there. So that a new process will take over, whereby the instinctive desire of parents to love their children and to give that desire expression through care and duty and protectiveness, and sometimes going against the wishes of the child in their own best interests, that kind of understanding of parenting will be set aside, and in its place will be a scientific model which really parents won't have any capacity to participate in or to contribute to or to offer evidence in. They will be told what is good for their children, and they will be told that they don't measure up.
And that they failed.
Mm.